I'm ready for the final step, or one of the final steps in preparing my rainbow roving. I've already carded 5 of my 6 colors. I want to show you how I'm carding this last batt. And my cameraman can move in a little bit closer so you can see. This was rough carded, just run through the louette one time, which meant it really wasn't ready to be spun. Then after I dyed it, I picked it apart so it would dry. So it's kind of a mess right now, and it needs to be carded again. One of the biggest problems I see when people card is they cram too much fiber in at one time. You should be able to read, they say, a newspaper underneath the fiber as you put it in. And it doesn't matter, even say I'd run this through 3 or 4 times and it was perfectly carded. If I run it through again, it still has to be very open, and I should be able to read through it. I'm picking this open and feeding it in. Another thing, now this, I'm using the super card, which is electric. If you're using a hand crank, you do not want to just crank it as fast as you can. That doesn't allow the fiber to be caught, straightened, and pulled in correctly. And I think you can see, can you come up a little bit closer? You can see that if I wrote "read me" and put it under this fiber, you could read it. I did that once at a class. The students were just cramming fiber in. They were using my louette, and it was a mess. So I made a big sign, you can back up now, and put down there that said, "read me." This really doesn't take too long. The biggest, probably one of the bigger things is picking the fiber the first time it goes through. That's where a pick or finger picking comes in handy. As it gathers, as the fiber gathers on the big drum, it starts to build up. Then I use the burnishing tool and just run it lightly over the drum, and it packs the fiber in. On my louette carder, I often use, and I don't have it right here, but I have a wallpaper brush, and I hold that and it does the same thing. You just kind of want to pack the fiber down in. I finished carding my purple batt. I'm going to take this off as a batt instead of roving. There's a little slit on the drum card and you run your tool through. Now I'm just going to strip this off. This is a doffer. If it's clinging and not coming off, you can do that. This is pulling off pretty well. And here is my finished batt. And it's very nicely carded, even just with one time through. If this is the hardest part of all of this, I'm going to divide this roving into 6 parts. Equal, I hope. And I'm going to kind of shake it out a little bit to open it up and break it down the middle in half first. Now I'm going to divide this into 3, hopefully even parts. I'm just going to lay it over the edge of my trash can for right now. By dividing it in half first, you have better control over what you're doing. I've pulled all of my batts into 6 pieces each. I'm going to card 6 more batts because that's what fits very comfortably on this drum card. I could probably crowd a little bit more on, but I don't want to. I'm going to go in rainbow order, starting with the red. I'm going to line them up across the drum card. And here again, this is pretty even. You can see through it. So I'm going to feed it in and try to keep it all over on the right. My orange. This is obnoxious orange. I'm going to lay it right next to the red. I'm sure there will be a little overlap, and that's fine. Yellow. I should be about halfway through now. I'm going to pull this out a little bit more. If your roving is really wide and making too wide a swath, you can draft it out a little bit more. I'm just pulling it out. Got to keep your eye on it to put it in. I'm doing this on the super card. You can do this on any drum card. Again, this is kind of fat and fluffy, so I'm going to draw it out a little bit so I get a nice narrow strip. Now I'm going to have my cameraman move to the other side of the drum card so you can see how it's coming out on the drum. It really doesn't take too long. You do have to constantly be guiding your roving or it'll kind of spread and go where you don't want it to. Finished rainbow batt. Now I'm going to draw it off into a rainbow roving. I'm going to use my favorite milk top diz. I've broken my fiber. Twist it. Push it through the diz. Remember, the flat part goes against the drum card. Oh, come on. If you have trouble getting it through, especially if you have a small hole, you might have to get a pin and poke it through. There I go. Now I'm going to draw this off. One thing I've discovered, having spun a lot of roving, is that it spins easier if you start spinning from the end you started pulling through the diz. I don't know why, but it does have somewhat of a right and wrong. Now you can see I've got a little overlap there. I could probably adjust a little bit if I didn't want that. Now I'm getting a little yellow. I'm almost finished. Probably have about one more time around with my purple or violet or whatever color you want to call this. Yep, one more. It takes maybe 4 to 5 minutes to draw off the roving. And I'm through. And you can see the beautiful colors that I have.